Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Dear devotees, doing Bhakti Shastri, we are discussing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, the Karma Yoga, and we are in the section 4, Nishkama Karma Yoga to set correct example. And today we will start from verse number 28 onward. And this section is starting from verse number 17, and this will continue till verse 35. So still we have to go almost 7 more verses in this section, and then the last section. Be aware of the great enemy lust. So the person, usually they are parinishta bhakta. Parinishta means those who are already purified in their heart. They are not required to do their prescribed duties, but still they perform their prescribed duties to set example for the common people to follow. So now the verse number 28, Tattva Vittu Mahabaho Guna Karma Vibhagayo Guna Guneshu Vartant Iti Matvana Sajjati. So Tattva Vitta, Vit means knower, Tattva means the truth. So Srila Prabhupada will definitely use this word Tattva from Bhagavatam. Tattva is Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan. That is Tattva. So Tattva is one, and that one Tattva is understood as Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan according to the practitioner. Jnani know him as a Brahma, Yogi know him as a Paramatma, and devotees know him as a Bhagavan. But also this is a Tattva that we are the part and parcel of Krishna, and our constitutional position is to serve Krishna is also Tattva. So Mahabaho is the address to the Arjun that you Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Recording in progress.
Hare Krishna. I think there may be a little problem of the net. Let's see. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. I'm just keeping the video off.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So two means, but the wise person who knows that he is different from the senses and their action. Guna and karma. So vibhagayo means different departments. Na sajjate means is not attached. And matva means understanding. What is the understanding? Guna guneshu vartant iti.
Your audio muted. Can you please unmute, Prabhuji?
Oh, okay. Alright. Okay, Hare Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada's translation, Srila Prabhupada writes, one who is in knowledge means tattvavit, of the absolute truth, tattva. Vit means knowledge and tattva means absolute truth. O mighty armed, which means Mahabhav, does not engage himself in sense and sense gratification, knowing well the difference between the work in devotion and work of fruitive results. So work in devotion, this is what Prabhupada is saying, vibhagayo, means there are different departments. There is a work in devotion and there is a work for fruitive results. So this is the translation by Srila Prabhupada. And then division of the guna are sattva, rajo and tamo. And division of the action is according to the effect of the guna. Devata, sattva guna, senses, raja guna, and sense object, tamo guna. So the action is, when we perform some action, ditch the 40 minutes. What is this? Is it from your side or from my side?
Prabhuji, from your side, Prabhuji, you can close that window.
What is that? I don't know.
It's actually Zoom. It has the basic version has a 40-minute limit. It is trying to promote you that by paid version.
Okay.
It is someone called Bharat who is sharing his screen, not a person.
Bharat is sharing the screen.
Bharat has to stop sharing the screen.
Now I don't have share. Today I don't have option because my computer I cannot use with this internet.
Bharat, you will have to stop sharing your screen.
Yeah, somebody can share, that will be nice. So Srila Prabhupada's purport, the knower of the absolute truth is convinced of his awkward position in material association. So awkward position in material association means conditioned soul, and conditioned by three modes of material nature. He knows that he is part and parcel of the Supreme, that is his constitution, and that his position should not be in the material creation, so he should be in a spiritual world. That is his true constitutional position. He knows his real identity as part and parcel of the Supreme, who is eternal bliss and knowledge, Satchitanand, and realizes that somehow or other he is entrapped in the material conception of life. Somehow or other means because of the false ego. False ego means to lord it over material nature or the enjoying mentality. In his pure state of existence, he is meant to dovetail his activities in devotional service, that is his constitutional position, Jivera Swarupai Krishna Nityadas, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore engage himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness and become naturally unattached to the activities of the material senses, which are all circumtension and temporary. So what is the meaning of circumtension? Conditional.
In this body.
Yeah, the circumstances means conditional. They are conditioned to certain circumstances. And temporary because this is material. The material world is temporary. Material body is temporary. But the soul is constitutional, not circumstantial. So there is a difference between the devotional is constitutional and fruitive is circumstantial and temporary. Now if you put these two words in a translation of Srila Prabhupada, then knowing well the difference between the work in devotion means constitutional and work for fruitive result, which means circumtention and temporary. He knows that his material condition of life is under the supreme control of the Lord. Can anybody understand from where this is taken, this line? He knows that his material condition of life is under the supreme control of the Lord. Last week we gave you one topic to study, and the name of the topic is Who is the Doer?
Hare Krishna, from the 7th chapter it is Devi Vesha Gunmai Maya Duratyaya.
Exactly, this is not. He knows that his material condition of life is under the supreme control of the Lord. This is the 18th chapter where the 5 karta are there, 5 doers. The last doer is the Deva, which is the ultimate doer, right? Have you worked, somebody has worked on the doership? This was the homework for this week. Who is the doer? So everything is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Constantly, he is not disturbed by all kinds of material reaction, which he considered to be the mercy of the Lord. So this is something devotional. This is something like Brahma's prayer. Tattu anukampa sumikshamanu bhunjante te agham papa. You know this verse? So last line is from that, in that mood. Since everything is in the hand of the Supreme, so he simply wait for the mercy of the Lord and think it is mercy of the Lord. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, one who knows the absolute truth in 3 different features, Brahm, Paramatma and Bhagavan, is called Tattvavit, for he knows also his own factual position in relation with Supreme. So this is the meaning of Tattvavit. So in this purport we have Guna Karma Vibhaga. Guna Karma Vibhaga. Vibhaga means different departments. So Srila Prabhupada has divided the 2 departments, devotional department and fruitive department. So senses are acting according to the devotional mood or according to the fruitive mood. So now we are going to the verse number 29. Prakrtir guna samudhaha sajjante guna karmaso tan akrisan vido madan krisan vinna vichalye. This is the word similar to the one should not disturb the attached worker. These are the 2 verses in this chapter. Which was the first verse? Anybody remember?
Verse 26.
Okay, 26 says, so as not to disturb the mind of ignorant, right? So 29 is in the same vein. Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached, but the wise should not unsettle them. Although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. So Prakriti Guna Sammudaha. Those bewildered by the sense made of Prakriti. Senses made of Prakriti. Guna also means senses. And guna means three modes of material nature. Are attached to the sense object. Sajjate guna karmasu. One who knows everything, Krishna with. Krishna means everything, complete. With means knower. One who knows everything, does not disturb, na vichaliyet. Those foolish person, tan moda madan. Madan means foolish. Who do not know. Akrisan vidaha. Srila Prabhupada writes, person who are unknowledgeable, mada, falsely identify with gross material consciousness that I am the doer and are full of material designation. This is called upadhi, material designations. So this body is a gift of material nature. And one who is too much attached to the bodily consciousness is called manda or lazy. Manda means lazy. Person without understanding of the spirit soul. So material consciousness is a bodily consciousness. And the person who is in material consciousness is called manda or lazy, because he has no understanding of the soul. Ignorant men think of body as the self. They accept bodily conception with others as kinsmen. This is the verse from Bhagavatam. This ignorant men think of body as the self. They accept bodily connection with others as kinsmen. And the land in which the body is obtained is their object of worship, and they consider the formalities of religious rituals to be end in themselves. This is a verse from Bhagavatam. Anybody remember that? Yad buddhi kanata pitridha tuke. This is the verse. This will come down in some other verses in this chapter. So this is the verse spoken at Kurukshetra when Krishna with his queens and all Yaduvansis and Vasudev came at the solar eclipse, and then this verse is spoken by saintly persons, that anybody who thinks this body is everything and the relative of body is everything and the place of birth is worshipable, and going to the religious places and only taking birth as a ritual, not associating with the saintly people, is simply an animalistic conception of Gokhara. This is the verse I think many times you must have heard. Srila Prabhupada often quote this verse. So what you can write at the corner of the purport, this is a quote from Srimad Bhagavatam. And when you get exactly the number of the verse, you can write there for your future reference. This is the verse 1084:13. 10th canto, 84 chapter, verse number 13. Yasyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke swadhi kaltra disho bhauma ijjadhi yatatirtha buddhi salilena karachit Janeshu abhagneshu saeva gokharaha. So this third line is actually the paraphrase of the verse from 10:84:13. So when we read this purport, we should know this is a quote. You write Q, Q means quote, quote means quoted from some scripture. And then when you know exactly, then you write at the corner. That will help you in future. Okay, well, we are going further. Social work. Now these are the designations. Material designation or upadhi. Social work, nationalism, altruism are some of the activities for such materially designated people. These are the designation, upadhi. And the devotional services, sarva upadhi vinurmuktam. One should be completely free from all designation. Under the spell of such designation, they are always busy in the material field. For them, spiritual realization is myth, and so they are not interested in spiritual practices. Srila Prabhupada writes, those who are enlightened means devotees in spiritual life, however, should not try to agitate such materially engrossed person. Better to prosecute one's own spiritual activities silently. Such bewildered person may be engaged in such primary moral principle of life as non-violence and similar material benevolent work. Benevolent work means in some other charity work. Men who are ignorant cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness or devotional activities. And therefore Lord Krishna advises us not to disturb them and simply waste valuable time. Actually, all this life membership program and other of these ISKCON are based on this principle that because people are attached to their work, they can be engaged indirectly in service of Krishna by making them life members and giving them books that they will read, and they will visit our temple where they can honor the Krishna Prasad and have darshan of the deities and association of the devotees. So indirectly they are encouraged. We never go and tell them that you are fool and you don't know, you are a materialist and you are karmi. No, we simply say, oh, you are a very nice gentleman, can you become a life member and help the society? So this is one way. Now Srila Prabhupada is more directly saying, but the devotees of Lord are more kind than the Lord. His divine grace. So Srila Prabhupada is titled His divine grace, means He is more merciful than the Lord. He is the mercification, He is the personification of mercy of the Lord. Because they understand the purpose of the Lord. The purpose of the Lord is to bring everybody back to home, back to Godhead. The mission of the Lord is Man Mana Bhav Mad Bhaktum. Consequently, they understand all kind of, they undertake all kind of risk, even to the point of approaching ignorant men to try to engage them to the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. So the acts of Krishna consciousness are absolutely necessary for the human beings. So they take risk, they go in areas of the world where people risk their life, but still they go and preach. And Prabhupada took a big risk at the advanced age to spread Krishna consciousness because it is the absolute necessity for the human society. Verse number 30. This is the most important verse actually in this section because this is the principle of Krishna consciousness. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasadhyatma chetsa Nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhasva vigat jwara. Vigat jwara, in first chapter Arjun says, Siddhanti mam gatrani mukham cha parishusyati. When he said my skin is burning and my mouth is drying up, it's like a fever. So this feverish mentality was because of attachment to the family. So yudhasva means fight, vigat means give up, jwara means feverish mentality of attachment. Now in this verse you have to write some notes. What is called adhyatma chetsa, what is nirashi, and what is nirmamo. So these three words, which in the purport we will find the meaning. So Mai sarvani karmani. Mai means Krishna says unto me. Offering all activities to me. Mai sarvani karmani. Sanyasta means offering or give. Like we say, don't worry, just leave everything on me. Krishna is saying that. Being fixed in the soul, adhyatma chetsa, means being in your own constitutional position. Being without possession or desire, nirasi nirmamo. Any possession means nirmamo. Nirashi means without desire. Devoid of fever, we get a fight. And what is, somebody can read the translation by Srila Prabhupada? Therefore, Arjun, surrendering all your work unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desire for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. With full knowledge means adhyatma chetsa. This is what Prabhupada means here. Srila Prabhupada writes, this verse clearly indicates the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. You underline this word. This is the verse which clearly indicates the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to work for Krishna without proprietorship and without any desire. That's the meaning. Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties as if in military discipline. This is the another one word. Prabhupada used to say devotee should follow the military discipline. It means he should not be attached to the work or attached to the result of the work. And that is the activities in devotional service or full Krishna consciousness. Not attached to the work and not attached to the result. That is military discipline. Oh, you have to drive car? Yes, sir. You have to shoot gun? Yes, sir. Or you have to cook? Yes, sir. That is military discipline. Simply follow the order. Without being attached to the work or the result of the work. That is actually the activities in devotional service or full Krishna conscious. Such an injection may make things a little difficult. It means people may not be ready in the beginning to do work like that. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out. It means one should perform his prescribed duties with dependence on Krishna. This is Mai Sarvani Karmani, because that is the constant position of the living entity. The living entity cannot be happy independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord. Because the eternal constant position of the living entity is to be to become subordinate to the desire of the Lord. Desires of the Lord. So Lord is a master and we are his eternal servants. So servant is supposed to follow the desire of the master. Arjun was therefore ordered by the Lord Krishna to fight as if the Lord was his military commander. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls. Therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul, this is without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna consciousness, is called Adhyatma Chetsa. So this is the definition of Adhyatma Chetsa. Supreme Lord is soul of all souls. Therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul, without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called Adhyatma Chetsa. Chetsa means consciousness. Adhyatma means is spiritual. That I am soul, and soul is part and parcel of Krishna, and Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das. That is Adhyatma Chetsa. Nirashi means that one has to act on the order of the master, but should not accept fruitive result. That is the meaning of Nirashi. Ashi means desire. Asha means hope. Nirashi. I am not hoping for any result. I am simply following the order of the Supreme Authority. That is Nirashi. And then the analogy is given for Nirashi. The cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer, but he does not claim a cent for himself. That is Nirashi. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person. Isha Vasha Idam Sarvam. But that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. That is the real purport of Mai or unto me. And when one acts in such Krishna consciousness, certainly he does not claim proprietorship over anything. Nirmamo. This consciousness is called Nirmam, or nothing is mine. Nirmam, nothing is mine. And if there is any reluctance to execute such stern order, which is without consideration of so-called kinsmen in the bodily relationship, that reluctance should be thrown off. In this way, one may become vigat jwara, or without feverish mentality or lethargy. So Arjuna was reluctant to execute such a stern order of Krishna. Because why? Because he has a consideration of kinsmen in bodily relationship. So that has to be thrown off. That is the definition of vigat jwara. Everyone according to his quality and position, according to his quality. According to his quality means according to his varna and ashram. He has a particular type of work. This quality and position means varna and ashram. Arjuna is a Kshatriya and Grasta. If he is a Kshatriya and Vanpras, then he may give up fighting. But he is not Vanpras, he is Grasta. So his quality and position means his varna and ashram. He has a particular type of work to discharge, and all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness as described above. That will lead one to the path of liberation. So quality and position means varna and ashram. Verse number 31. Ye me matam idam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shardhayavanto anusoyanto muchyante tepi karambi. This is another interesting verse. Oftentimes I really like this verse. Krishna says, Ye me matam. This means this is my opinion. This is not opinion, this is my teaching. Matam. My teaching. Nityam, it is eternal, it is always, it cannot change. Like it is not New Testament or Old Testament of Bible, like it cannot change. And it is for all human society. Anutishtanti manava. Manava means all the human beings for all times and all places. And then there are two more important words. Shardhayavanto means faith. Anusuyanto means non-envious. The person should be non-envious to my teaching, this teaching. What is the teaching? Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetsa nirmamo niratma nirashi nirmamo bhutva. That is my teaching. So verse 30 is teaching. And verse 31, Krishna is saying that one who works in this consciousness with faith and with one who is not envious of me, muchyante, he will be freed from. And while performing all the actions, te api karam bhi. So Srila Prabhupada's translation, somebody should read Srila Prabhupada's translation.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Those persons who execute their duties according to my intentions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of primitive actions. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes. Now, those persons who execute their duties according to my injunction means matam. Matam. Me matam. And who follow the teaching faithfully, shardhayavanto, without envy, anusuyanto, become free from bondage. Only Nityam and Manava are not there in a translation as such. So, Srila Prabhupada writes, the injection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it means Krishna's ye me matam, is the essence of all Vedic wisdom and therefore is eternally true without exception. This means Nityam. So injection of Krishna is the injection of all Vedas and therefore it is eternally true. As the Vedas are eternal, so this truth of Krishna consciousness is also eternal. One should have firm faith in this injection, Shardhayavanto, without envying the Lord, Anusuyanto. There are many philosophers who write comments on the Bhagavad Gita but have no faith in Krishna. They are envious of Krishna. They will never be liberated from the bondage of fruitive actions because they have no faith and they are envious of Krishna. Most of the people almost on the planet are envious of Krishna. How? Because they want to enjoy, separate from Krishna. Krishna is bhoktaram yagatapasam, and they think we are bhokta. And this mentality of enviousness or enjoying mentality is actually a competitive mentality with Krishna. Opposite to that is a service attitude and cooperative mentality. That is devotional service. But an ordinary man with a firm faith in the eternal injection of the Lord, even though unable to execute such orders, become liberated from the bondage of the law of karma. In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, one may not fully discharge the injection of the Lord. But because one is not resentful of this principle, he may not be able to follow it, but he believes in it and is not envious of Krishna and works sincerely without consideration of the defeat and hopelessness. He will surely be promoted to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness. It means one should start his devotional service, Vaidhi Sadhan Bhakti. Then gradually he will reach to the love of God. That is for pure Krishna consciousness. Verse 32. Ye tvetad abhisoyanto nanutishtanti me matam sarvagyan vimudhan stan vidhi nashtan achetasa. So verse 32 is those who don't follow the injunction of Krishna. So verse 31 is those who follow, and 32 those who don't follow. But know, Vidhi, that those who, ye tu, devoid of all knowledge, sarva gyan vimudhans, devoid of proper consciousness, achetsa, and hostile to this teaching, etat me matam abhisuyanta, do not follow it, are lost, nashtan. Srila Prabhupada writes, but those who, out of envy, disregard these teaching and do not follow them are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled and ruined in their endeavor for perfection. Abhasuyanto means envious. And nanutishtanti vimati, not following my injunction or disregarding it. Sarva Gyan Vimudhans means all their knowledge will be befelled. Vidhi Nashtan, know that they will be destroyed or ruined. Achetsaha, which means actually they are like unconscious. Devoid of proper consciousness. Okay, Srila Prabhupada writes, the flaw of not being Krishna conscious clearly stated herein. And Krishna consciousness is, what is Krishna consciousness? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita. Ye me matam idam nityam anutishtanti. No, before that. Mai sanyasya mat paraha, mai sanyasya adhyatma chetsa. That is the Krishna consciousness. As there is a punishment for disobedience to the order of the Supreme Executive Head, means King. So there is certainly punishment for disobedience to the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A disobedient person, however great he may be, is ignorant of his own self and of the Supreme Brahm, Paramatma and Personality of Godhead due to the vacant heart. So all three, as he is not knowing the Tattva. Therefore there is no hope of perfection for life for him. Now verse number 33. Sadarsham chestate swasyaha prakrite jnanvanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigrakyam karishyati. This verse sadarsham chestate swasyaha. Even a man of knowledge, the man of knowledge is a jnanvan api. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature. Prakriti. Prakriti means his nature. For everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes of material nature. Sadarsham chestate swasyaha. Swasyaha prakriti. Endeavoring with his own nature. And the last line, what can reparation accomplish? Nigram kim karishyate. Nigram means reparation. So now if you remember how one's nature is formed, we have discussed. Yes. How one's nature is formed? Somebody can answer me?
According to the mode of nature he is accompanying.
Yes, according to the three modes of nature. But where the mode of nature act actually?
It is because of the karma. No.
The mode of nature act on the subtle body.
Okay.
And this subtle body accompanies us from one body to other body. So our nature is not of one life. It is continuous. Because the three modes has their influence on the subtle body, mind, intelligence and false ego and corrupt consciousness. And that will continue from one body to other body because subtle body continues with the soul. Now Srila Prabhupada's purport. Unless one is situated on the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, He cannot get free from the influence of the modes of material nature as it is confirmed by order in 7th chapter. So what is the meaning of this verse? Devi esh gunamai mammaya durtaya. Nobody can be free from three modes of material nature. Only those who surrender unto Krishna can be freed. That is the transcendental position, means surrender to Krishna. Unless one is situated on transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, means one who is surrender unto Krishna. Therefore, even for the most highly educated person on the mundane plane, a philosopher, a PhD, a Sanskrit scholar, it is impossible to get out of the entanglement of the Maya, three modes of material nature, simply by theoretical knowledge or by separating the soul from the body, which means dry speculation. There are many so-called spiritualists who outwardly pose as advanced in science, but inwardly or privately are completely under particular mode of nature, which they are unable to surpass. I don't want to tell the name of a person, but he was a well-known speaker on Bhagavad Gita. Very famous. And once we were in a first Nirjala Ekadashi in Himalaya, we were doing kirtan on the one hill, and on the other hill there was some Bangalore, some people, they felt that we are disturbing them because of our kirtan, so they sent their car and we went there. And they all were actually, it's like drinking and having, and it was Nirjala Ekadashi time and they were indulged in all those things. And we had a lemon water with them, and then we were talking, they spoke about a person. Oh, he said that person was a great speaker of Gita, he was a spiritualist. But he was always having a glass of wine with us. We were surprised really to know that, but years back when I think in 89 something, I was in America, I met that person. And he has so many followers. But that is what line Srila Prabhupada has written actually, is there are many people, outwardly they are very great. Now you can see so many people have so many followers in India, but their lower nature impel them to do some things which they cannot resist, because the material mode is so powerful, material nature is so powerful. That's actually, Srila Prabhupada has written few lines, a whole panorama box of the modern so-called spiritualist. I am reading these lines again. There are so many so-called spiritualists who outwardly pose as advanced in science, but science means science of spiritual life, but inwardly or privately are completely under the particular mode of nature, which they are unable to surpass. This is one of the lecture Prabhupada was saying, he was singing so nicely kirtan, very sweet melody, but after half an hour he said, my throat is choking, bring some beedi. I need some beedi, cigarette. So these are the people, their lower mode is so powerful that even they are spiritually appears advanced, but they cannot control themselves. So academically one may be very learned, but because of his long association with material nature, he is in bondage. Krishna consciousness helps one to get out of the material entanglement. Even though one may be engaged in his prescribed duties in terms of material existence, means varna and ashram. Therefore, without being fully in Krishna consciousness, one should not give up his occupational duty. It means he should gradually give up the occupational duty until unless he become fully Krishna conscious, not all of a sudden. No one should suddenly give up his prescribed duties and become a so-called yogi or transcendental artificially. It is better to be situated in one's position and try to attain Krishna consciousness under superior training. That one word is most important. In other words, the other purport of our Acharya on this verse is that Only by good association our all bad conditioning of nature can be corrected. So under superior training means in a good association of devotees and guidance of the spiritual master. So all our past conditioning of our nature can be corrected and refined or reformed in association of devotees under the guidance of the spiritual master. Thus one may be freed from the clutches of Krishna's Maya. Verse 34. Indriyasya indriyasarthe raga dvesha vivastito tayornava samagaccheta taoyasya paripantino. So indriyasya indriyarthe means all senses and their object. Eye has a form, ear has a sound. So all five are senses and their object. That is the meaning of first line. Rag dvesha. Rag means attachment, dvesh means hatred. Rag means attachment. Vivastito means properly situate them. Rag dvesh, firmly fixed. They are in the purport. You will see the one should not steal or give gift to somebody else's wife. This is one thing in a scripture. Or touch. And the other is one should touch the lotus feet of the spiritual master, should offer him some gift. But these people are just opposite. They will not agree to go to the spiritual master, but they will touch and give gift to the somebody else's wife. That is what Acharya have written, that how they have a rag and dvesh, attachment and aversion. Tayorna vasam, one should not come under their control. Agachet. Taoi asya paripantino. Pari means, pantino means on the path. Pari means they are dacoit or thief on the path of spiritual realization. What are the thieves? Who are the thieves? Rag and dvesh. So out of the five items of the Maya, there are two here. Rag, dvesh, abhinivesh. Rag. What are the five items of the Maya? Five parva of the Maya they call. Rag, dvesh, abhinivesh, avidya, or ignorance, and then one more. So find out these five. Srila Prabhupada writes, those who are in Krishna consciousness, we have not read the translation, so translation goes, there are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. So there are rules and regulation. Verse number 33 or 34. There are principles to regulate the attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their object. What has to be seen and what not. One has to see the deity in the temple. This is a principle. One should not see somebody else's wife. This is a principle. For the eye, similarly there is a principle for the ear. One should not hear the blasphemy of a devotee. And one should always hear the holy name. Similarly for the tongue, there is a principle. One should honor Krishna Prasad, but one should not never eat flesh. These are like principles for each sense. So they are principle to regulate the attachment and aversion of pertaining to the senses and sense object. You understand, I gave the three examples. This can be for all senses. One should not come under the control of some attachment and aversion. One should not be controlled. Under the control of. Control means your nature Your nature will force, but you should not come under that control. Why? Because they are a stumbling block on the path of self-realization. Because we have to control it, because otherwise they will bereft us. They will rob us, because they are thief and we will never reach to our destination. Those who are in Krishna conscious are naturally reluctant to engage in material sense gratification. This Prabhupada is giving a statement. But those who are not in such consciousness should follow the rules and regulations of revealed scripture. So rules and regulation of the revealed scripture has to be followed by everyone. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material engagement. But one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scripture does not become entangled by the sense objects. For example, sex enjoyment is necessary for the conditioned soul, and sex enjoyment is allowed under the license of marriage ties. According to the scriptural injunction, one is forbidden to engage in the sex relationship with any woman other than one's wife. All other women are to be considered as one's mother, but in spite of such injunction, a man is still inclined to have sex relation with others' women. This Prabhupada is just giving how people are controlled by their nature. These propensities are to be curbed, otherwise they will be stumbling block on the path of self-realization. As long as material body is there, the necessities of the material body are allowed, but under rules and regulations. And yet we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. Allowances means marriage is there, but still there are accidents. Prabhupada gives an analogy. One has to follow those rules and regulations unattached to them, because practice of sense gratification under regulation may also lead one to go astray. And the analogy is, as much as there is always the chance of an accident even on a railroads. The analogy, even one is regulated, he may go astray. Although they may be very carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger even on the safest road. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current in a very long time. This is our conditioning. Sense enjoyment spirit. Owing to material association. Therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is very chance of falling down. Therefore, any attachment for regulated sense enjoyment, attachment to sense enjoyment, must be avoided by all means. Therefore, any attachment for regulated sense enjoyment means, regulated sense enjoyment means the marriage is regulated, but still if we are attached in that, then there is always a danger. But attachment to Krishna consciousness or acting always in loving service of Krishna detach one from all kinds of sensory activities. This is actually a principle we have done in 2nd chapter. Anybody can quote that verse which is a principle? Raso vayasya param drishtvar nivartante. You remember this verse?
Yes, Prabhuji.
That is actually the essence. If one has a higher taste, then he can give up the lower taste. Therefore, no one should try to detach from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. This is a direct order of Srila Prabhupada. Nobody should give up ISKCON. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness. Means detachment is meant for attachment to Krishna. If we have attachment to Krishna, detachment is byproduct. Verse 35, last verse of this section. Shreyan swadharmo vignaha paradharmat swanushtitat swadharme nidhanam shreya paradharmo bhayavaha. Shreyan swadharmo vignaha. Shreyan means better. Swadharma means one's own occupational duty. Vignaha, it may have fault. Paradharmat, what are the paradharmat? Somebody else's dharma. Swa anushtitat, if I can do very nicely. So dharma nidhanam shreya, it is better to be, nidhanam means it is better to be destroyed in one's own duty than performing somebody else's dharma, because that is dangerous. It is better to perform one's own activity, duties, even if in a faulty way, than to perform others' duties, albeit very well. Distraction in the course of one's duty is beneficial. Performing others' duties is full of danger. So, this is the verse. What are the paradharma? There are 5 types of paradharma. I am telling you a verse from 7:15 Bhagavatam 7:15-12. 7:15-12 says, Vidharma paradharmascha abhas upama chala adharma shakha panchema dharmagyo dharmavatyajeta. Which means the knower of the dharma should avoid 5 forbidden type of the adharma. What are the 5 adharma? They are vidharma, paradharma, abhas dharma, upama dharma and chal dharma. Vidharma of somebody else's dharma. Paradharma, vidharma, paradharma. Abhas dharma means that looks like dharma but it's not a dharma. Upama dharma, comparative dharma. And chala dharma means cheating dharma. So 7:15-12 you may refer this. These are the 5 type of paradharma. Srila Prabhupada writes, one should therefore discharge his prescribed duties in full Krishna consciousness rather than those prescribed for others. Paradharma. Materially prescribed duties are the duties enjoyed according to one's psychological condition, means varna and ashram. Under the spell of mode of material nature, so it means varna and ashram. The spiritual duties are ordered by the spiritual master. So material duties are spiritual duties. You have to differentiate between the 2 duties. Material duties according to the varna and ashram, and spiritual duties according to the order of the spiritual master. And what is the spiritual duty? Transcendental service to the Lord, Krishna. But whether material or spiritual, one should stick to his prescribed duties even up to death, rather than imitate another's prescribed duty. Duties on the spiritual platform and duties on the material platform may be different, but the principle of following the authorized direction is always good for the performer. So material duties are performed according to the scripture, spiritual duties are performed according to the spiritual master. When one is under the spell of mode of material nature, one should follow the prescribed rules for his particular situation and should not imitate others. It means Brahman is mode of goodness, he is non-violent. Kshatriya is mode of passion, he is violent. So he thinks that I can perform Brahman's duty, it is not good, as Arjuna was thinking. For example, Brahman, who is the mode of goodness and non-violent, whereas the Kshatriya, who is the mode of passion, is allowed to be violent. As such, for a Kshatriya, it is better to be vanquished following the rules of violence than to imitate a Brahman who follow the principle of non-violence, imitate dharma. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by gradual process, not abruptly. It means By performing one's duty, one will be purified and then he can advance. However, when one transcends mode of material nature, it means one is transcendently situated and is fully situated in Krishna consciousness. He can perform anything and everything under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. In that complete stage of Krishna consciousness, the Kshatriya may act as a Brahman and Brahman may act as a Kshatriya. In that transcendent stage, the distinction of the material world do not apply. And there are two examples given here. For example, Vishwamitra was originally Kshatriya, but later on acted as a Brahman. Whereas Parshuram was a Brahman, but later on acted as a Kshatriya. Being transcendent situated, they should not do so. They could do so. But as long as one is on the material platform, he must perform his duties according to the mode of material nature. At the same time, he must have a full sense of Krishna consciousness. Actually, the Dronacharya is also Brahman. He is acting as a Kshatriya. But they are criticized. They all are criticized. Baldev Vidyabhushan writes, they are criticized, though they are beyond three modes. But still they are criticized. So this section is over. Before we start another section, any question or comment? Any question or comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
We want that walkthrough of this chapter. That because when we do revision, if we have this walkthrough of this chapter, then it will become.
I'm not getting it. Tell me again.
Somebody can repeat that in the walkthrough. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Prabhuji, now is it audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Prabhuji, we need the walkthrough of this chapter 3.
I have not sent you the whole.
No.
Anyway, if I go to Vrindavan today, I will call somebody to send you, okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, because that makes it easy for us to understand the whole chapter and do revision.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other question or comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. So Prabhuji, in short, what is the conclusion of this section in one or two lines?
One has to perform his prescribed duties in full Krishna consciousness to set an example for other people, not to misguide them and disturb them.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then there is a principle of whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita, and there is a negative and positive statement about that principle by Sarvani Karmani, this verse 30, 31 and 32, something like that. And the last part is, it's very difficult really to be free from the influence of three modes of material nature. So now Arjuna is asking a question based on verse number 34. So this question of Arjuna in 36 is based on 34. Arjuna vacha athakena prayokto yam papam charati purusha anichan apivarshneya baladeva nyojitaha. Athakena prayokto yam. Who is forcing him to do that? Papam charati purusha is doing sinful acts. Anichan apivarshneya. Krishna, he don't really desire it. Baladev by force. Nyojita, engaged. When I used to say Nyojita, this word has like a figure of a bull having a rope in the nose. No bull wants to till the field or pull the cart, but is forced to. So who is actually putting us in this situation? That people are doing sinful acts though they don't want. So this is the question. Srila Prabhupada writes, a living entity as a part and parcel of Supreme is originally spiritual, pure and free from all material contamination. Therefore, by nature, he is not subject to the sins of material world. But when he is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjun's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entity. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the super soul within, but are due to the another cause, as the Lord explained in the next verse. So generally, this is a very common question people ask. Oh, this body is a matter, how can it perform sin? So table cannot perform sin because matter cannot perform sin. Oh, soul is pure by nature, how can soul perform sin? Then it is the super soul and only he is responsible for some sinful activities. So people say like this. So who is actually responsible for sinful activities? Neither super soul nor soul, but actually this nature of an individual. And these are the two verses in chapter 5. I think verse 14 and 15. I think 14 will say soul is not responsible and 15 will say super soul is not responsible. Chapter 5. The one verse says, न कर्तृत्वं न लोकः सृजते प्रभो न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकं सृजते प्रभु न कर्म फल संयोगम स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते. In this verse, Prabhu means soul, the master of the body. And the next verse is न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकः सृजते प्रभु अज्ञानेन आवृतं ज्ञानं तेन मोह्यन्ति जन्तवः. Super soul is not responsible for anybody's pious or sinful activities. It is because of his ignorance which covers the knowledge. You found these two verses?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, these are the two verses which nullify that neither the soul nor the super soul is responsible for sinful activities. But the first verse says Subhava, which means nature. And which nature, which Subhava? Mode of passion. Now the answer given by Krishna in verse number 37. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Kamesha Krodesha Rajogun Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidya Enam Iya Verinam. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Sri Krishna. This calm is in singular, it's not in plural. Calm usually means desire. But here calm means lust. So calm here is not in plural, it is in singular, calm. Esha Krodha means that transform into anger. When desire is not fulfilled, it is transformed into anger. So calm is in mode of passion and Krodha is in mode of ignorance. From where this calm is arising? Rajogur Samudbhava, it is arising from mode of passion. So you can use the Sam, Dam, Danda, Bheda. Say no, Ma Ashno. It cannot be controlled by Dam. Mahapapma, it cannot be controlled by other process. Only it can be controlled by Danda. Sam, Dam, Bheda, Danda. There are 4 ways to control something. And politically, Sam, Dam, Bheda, Danda. So neither Sam, not Dam, not Bhed will work. Only Danda is required in this case. So Mahashno means it is never satisfied. you satisfy lust, it will increase only, like the fire increases by putting ghee. You put the ghee, fire will increase. And Mahapapma means it is so powerful that greatest sin can be performed. Vidya, he, enam, iya. In this life, this is our greatest enemy. Very means enemy. This is a verse from Smriti, Mahabharata. It says, understanding that all that is available on the earth in the form of food, gold, animal and woman is not enough for one person. One should go about with peaceful mind. Mahabharata. So a person will not be satisfied by the whole world. What is calm? Okay. Srila Prabhupada writes, when a living entity comes in contact with material creation, his eternal love for Krishna transforms into lust. This one line is most important. Actually, it is love of Krishna what is transformed in this material world into lust. And all our endeavor is to revert the lust into love of God. And how it is transformed? By association with the mode of passion. And then Prabhupada gives the analogy. As milk is transformed into the yogurt by tamarind. So tamarind is mode of passion. Milk is love of Krishna. And lust is milk is compared to the love of Krishna. Tamarind is made of passion. And yogurt is lust. An example. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into the wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues to material existence. This is a verse from 2nd chapter. Dhyayato vishyan puncha sangaste shupjayate sangat sanjayate kama kamod krodho bjayate krodhat sangmoha samvad smrti bilsad buddhi nasho buddhi nashat pranashati. This is the verse quote. So this is a quote. Wrath is the manifestation of mode of ignorance, and the modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. Now I'll say one common saying I used to say is, there's a Ramanuj and a Kamanuj. Ramanuj is a Lakshman. One who follows the Ram is a Lakshman. And Kamanuj, one who follows the Kam, and Anuj is a Krodh. If you follow the Kam, then the Krodh will automatically be there. Kamanuj. The name of the Krodh is Kamanuj. It is behind Kam. Unsatisfied lust transform into wrath. So it is Kamanuj. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces pure living entity to remain entangled in material world. So wrath is a manifestation of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. Other corollaries means hinsa, which becomes, say, calm is subtle, you cannot see. Krodh is in the eyes, you can see. It is a grass. And the grasses is the hansa, then you become violent. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded to mode of ignorance, is elevated to mode of goodness by a prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. Which means actually if we perform sadhana bhakti, Prabhupada said actually I am here to bring people to mode of goodness. So Krishna conscious movement is actually designed to bring people to mode of goodness. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded himself into many of his ever increasing split bills. So this is Eko Bahunam, Eko Bahusyat. This is a Vedic aphorism. One become many. For what? For his bliss. And the living entities are part and parcel of this spiritual bliss. So by now you must remember this, that Krishna or the Supreme Lord has two type of ansa. One is called Swansa, which are Vishnu Tattva. Other are Vibhinna Ansa or Jiva. In this case they are Vibhinna Ansa for his enjoyment. Same principle, we are energy of the Lord. Like Radharani is internal energy of the Lord. She expands into many gopis to give bliss to the Lord. They are also Shaktis. They also have a partial independence, means the living entity has a partial independence. Now this section is important. By misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transferred into the propensity for sense, this is most important actually line in the purport. Partial independence, soul has a partial independence. Misuse of the independence. What is the misuse of independence?